All right, well, hi, hello, and welcome to the webinar. I'm Jess,
And I'm Mackenzie.
and we are about to get into a very exciting webinar with all of you in just a few seconds here. But Mackenzie and I wanted to go through a few of the housekeeping points that we think will help you get the most out of our time here together today. So, Mackenzie, where should we start?
First, I want to draw your attention over to the questions section of your webinar console. This is the best place to get involved, get interactive, post all of your insightful questions, comments, feedback, and ideas. In fact, why don't you find the tab right now and give it a little test run by saying hi, hello, hola, whatever salutation you want to put out to the community today. And as a quick side note, that window is also the best place to reach out and let us know if you have any technical issues during the webinar. Don't forget that a browser refresh should clear up most of the common issues. But if your slides or audio aren't working, feel free just to shoot us a message in the questions tab and our team will be happy to help.
All right, well, the questions tab was a great place to start because the next stop on our guided tour of your audience console is the handouts tab. Do spend some time in the handouts tab. There are so many wonderful resources and takeaways from our conversation here today. You are going to want those to follow up on this, I promise you. So go over to the handouts tab right now, start clicking on those links, download those PDFs, open those tabs, make sure you've got those set aside. Don't go anywhere just yet. Those are for later after we wrap the webinar, because right now you're going to want to stay with us. Not only do we have a very cool webinar coming your way, we also have a prize giveaway that we want you to have in mind, because that is coming at you at the end of our session. So we will have a $250 prize giveaway at the end of our webinar. Now, all winners do need to be here live and present at the webinar, and all winners must meet the prize terms and conditions. Those are linked for you in the handouts tab that we were just chatting about. So you can head on over to the handouts tab, click and scroll down, and you will find the full T's and C's waiting for you there.
Okay, Jess, I think that's everything for the housekeeping. Let's get this webinar rolling.
Let's do it.
Hi there. Jess and Mackenzie, thanks so much for those housekeeping tips. My name is Cindy Davis. I'm the Content Director of AV Technology, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this webinar on the state of networked AV. As Jess mentioned, this is an interactive panel, and we hope that means you too. So throughout the webcast, please submit your questions via the question section of your console, and we're going to take as many as we can. We're going to do that throughout the hour. We're not waiting till the end. And don't forget to download the helpful resources from the handout section in that same panel. And next, I would like to thank our sponsors, Atlona, Netgear, Ross Video, and Yamaha. So next, I want to ask our panelists to introduce themselves and provide a bit more information about themselves, their company, to provide a bit of context as it relates to today's discussion. So Alex, if you'd start off, that would be great. Alex, if you'd start off with an introduction, that'd be wonderful.
You said Alex?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm Alex Pendleton. I'm the Pro AV Design Team Manager for the U.S. team. I've been with Netgear for about 15 years. Started with NAS and SAN solutions. Then I transitioned to managed network switching around 2016, which is about the time Netgear started into the AV over IP industry, which was around the same time. We also have always been involved in a small part in our networking solutions for AV and broadcast solutions. But this was the beginning of us focusing on our AV over IP solutions, specifically by joining the SDVoE Alliance. And we've since designed and created network switching hardware from the ground up to solve a lot of concerns for our AV over IP customers out there, really facilitating the transition for the AV industry into AV over IP. And now we have a best-in-class power over Ethernet platform, Grandmaster capability switching, best-in-class IGMP domain, all wrapped into a simplified configuration platform for our Engage controller. So again, pleasure to be here with you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Matt, if you would.
My name is Matt Bishaw. I'm Business Development Manager for Education at Ross Video. Ross Video has traditionally been a manufacturer of solutions for multi-camera live video production. In the last decades, we've operated a lot in the SDI world. We've made some fantastic leaps into the network over IP solution in the last few years. We've been our approach is to make sure that our customers have a variety of options to work with various signal types and various environments so they feel comfortable in and can grow into the new environments as they wish, as their budgets will allow. But in the last year, we've launched more of our core products into the network over IP space. We have a solution out there called a video switcher called Carbon Code, which is completely based on the NDI protocol. So just one of many solutions. We've been living in the NDI world for a while, working with our popular graphics series called Expression, 3D motion graphics systems that all seamlessly integrates into that fabric. We also have a new video playout ingest server called Media.io that adopts various IP standards, and those systems all integrate through production workflow solutions into NAS and SAN systems. So we're growing our footprint into this space and look forward to helping our large customer base and new customers navigate changing times in our industry, and look forward to working with you and learning more about contributing to this great session.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Paul.
Thanks, Cindy. My name is Paul Curzon. I am the product manager for networked AV products at Atlona. I've been in the AV space for more than 15 years, most of that as a product manager, and most of it focused on networked AV products. Been here at Atlona for about 4 years now, working primarily with our OmniStream platform. That's our networked video and audio distribution solution. It's quite a mature platform. It's been shipping for around 7 or 8 years, and it's really targeted at giving you sort of very high quality, very low latency audio and video distribution over a network. And last year, we were able to do sort of a major update to the existing platform to bring even more performance and more capabilities, which is one of the great things about networked AV products, because you have the flexibility of the network. You can bring new features in.
Wonderful. And Tim.
Thank you, Cindy. Wonderful to be here with everybody. And Alex, Matt, Paul, nice to be here. I'm super excited because this is probably one of my favorite topics. A little bit about myself. I am an IT audio engineer. I'm a field sales engineer for Yamaha. YCA, Yamaha Corporation of America. I spent 11 years now with Yamaha. I've worked with many other DSP and microphone companies within this space. And I remember talking in my webinars about 10 years ago how everything was going to be over Ethernet, and all this AV equipment is eventually going to migrate to Ethernet. And one of the things we do at Yamaha is we are targeted towards making intelligently automated systems that IT folks can install without being a high-end audio engineer. So as we see really the complete transition, it will happen where all the AV gear is eventually running over Ethernet. Yamaha kind of leads the way with the Odessi solution. This is a groundbreaking solution that came out 4 years ago that, again, allows most folks that are just IT oriented to now put in world-class audio systems in the room. In fact, I'm talking to you on the Odessi system right now. There is our processor, and the switch powers everything in here. The microphone, the speakers, everything I'm doing with this system is powered over Ethernet. So I'm excited to talk about this topic and look forward to the conversation.
Great, thank you. So whether you're seamlessly connecting devices and endpoints within one room, distributing audio and video throughout a building, a campus, or worldwide, these days it would be rare if some, if not elements, are networked addressable. Networked AV is just part of the fabric of every enterprise. So nearly every company that started as traditional AV manufacturing, including folks here, has a full suite of networked AVIT solutions. And this panel is going to define networked AV, address the barriers to entry such as existing infrastructure, AV equipment that hasn't reached end of life cycle yet, and how to overcome some interdepartmental resistance and help plan for the future. So let's get started. So I actually would like to start off with what we mean by networked AV. And Paul, let's start off, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely, Cindy. So networked AV actually is a really broad topic, and depending on which manufacturer you're talking to or which products you're looking at, it takes a lot of different forms. In fact, this webinar that we're having today, that's networked AV. We're essentially having audio and video distributed across a network, right? But I think a lot of times when we talk about networked AV in the pro AV space, a lot of times what we're talking about is sort of that alternative to that traditional dedicated infrastructure hardwired. But even there's different kinds of technologies. So there's technologies that allow you to do essentially uncompressed audio and video across the network. Or you take a product like our OmniStream product, which is designed to essentially give you a replacement for dedicated pro AV equipment, but it can run on gigabit networks. Or you might have an application that requires distribution over more bandwidth constrained networks. And there's different types of technology for that. Has higher compression, has maybe higher latency. So it's really anytime you're talking about distributing audio and video over the network, and there's different approaches targeting different needs, different applications, different ways that people want to do it. And not only that, you'll see the conversation can even, the technologies and how it's implemented depends a little bit on if we're talking about video or only audio or a combination of the two. So it's really a very broad topic that we all use every day, but in different ways.
Absolutely. And Alex, if you wouldn't mind, I know with Netgear, and we're not here necessarily to promote any particular technology really, but everything that Paul said, I mean, whether it's audio or video and, what your need is. I mean, let's all talk about those, that use case and how to get there.
Well, yeah, and Paul's right. I mean, it can be as small as a cellular network sending a feed from the Sphere back to the Super Bowl over a 100 megabit PEP-Link link, through a high vision controller. I mean, it's really a mix of different communication of audio and video, even from the point that you have really high-end processors that are feeding video for a specific segment of a giant video LED wall. That not only is it able to display and sync with all of the other video panels on the LED wall, but it could also be redundant, and they can also see what's happening before an issue takes place to flip over to another redundant system that is running in parallel. So it is so, as far as the advancement of it, it can be very, very simplified, very utilize older network technologies and standards, or it can be really high end and leverage even newer technologies.
And Matt, I know that it was just mentioning the big video distribution. If you talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So with larger video distribution in any environment, adopting network AV solutions provide greater flexibility, scalability, and interoperability. There's so many benefits to going in that direction. You can centralize management. There's a lot of cost management, cable reduction. There's so many advantages to bringing this in your space. Lots of different topics we can talk to, and as we move on to further defining benefits, there's just so much for so many things for our listeners to learn about.
Absolutely. So, Tim, we're already talked, a bit about the audio, the video, but certainly audio needs to go over that network as well.
Absolutely. And as you know, in the past, Cindy, I've always kind of preached that A is the most important part in AV. And even the video guys will acknowledge that. We can have bad video and lose video and still have a meeting. But when you have poor audio, you really don't have a meeting. You have no audio, you have no meeting. So, and people will check out. If you have bad audio, people get fatigued. They stop paying attention. So yes, you really do need to pay attention. The basic in your AV environment in that room is the quality audio. Then you can enhance it with gorgeous, excellent video. Then it becomes just an amazing experience. And I think the advantages of doing it over AV, doing it over IT and over Ethernet, and having it be a digital solution, is you eliminate a lot of the old problems that we used to have with analog. You've got to get in there and strip shielded wires and put them on Phoenix connectors and plug them in. We're leveraging with these solutions, like I think Matt said, existing Category 5 enhanced or better infrastructure that's been out there for 20 years. So the advantages of having it be over Ethernet as far as the audio side are higher quality, easier routing of it. We can talk about including encryption and wireless microphone applications. Once you're on digital, there's so much more you can do. And with the level of automation that we can bring to this space, we can make it a lot easier. Again, like I mentioned earlier, for the IT guys to get their head around this. It's much easier for an IT organization to approach the audio product when it isn't essentially a digital IT product rather than an analog product with analog ins and outs and some of the traditional hardware. So the shift into AV into IT is really going to be beneficial for IT departments. It becomes easier for them to manage and install.
And you got to have a reliable platform, 100%. So the intercom systems for live production are like the priority system. So you have to maintain reliability.
We already have, I'm not surprised with this topic, we've already got lots of questions coming in. So I'm actually going to just start asking them. And this Alex or Paul or whoever wants to answer really the group, are you able to touch on how HD-based differs from AV over IP? We have some internal struggles with everybody understanding many of the other differences altogether, but one particular struggle is UTP cabling can be used for IP video. Does all IP video revolve around the OSI model, or are manufacturers using proprietary video transport? That's a mouthful. Hopefully you got that.
Go ahead. Sorry, Cindy. I was gonna jump in on that one. So obviously, HD-based T. Yes, you're using category cable. That's a technology that's really designed to go point to point. So you're going to be having still sort of a dedicated audio video switch in the middle, or maybe you're just using it as two endpoints, using it over category cable. And that's it's also something that's proprietary to the HD-based T technology that's in there. And it's also really high bandwidth. I mean, we're talking about something that's 10 plus gigabits per second. So the requirement on the category cable tends to be higher. When you contrast that with networked AV, yes, you're still using category cable, but now if you look at most of the implementations that are out there across manufacturers, they're very much designed in that OSI model. They're designed to be compliant with, your very much standardized IT networks. It's no longer point to point. You can distribute over the network. A lot of times too, you're talking about much lower bit rates. So you're able to operate on gigabit networks or lower, which now means you're also dropping the category cable requirement. Maybe you're able to run on Cat 5e. Kind of depends a little bit on, again, the product, the technology, and the bit rate. But the HD-based T is all very high bit rate, all point to point. Network technology, but typically, not always, but typically lower bit rate and also lower cable requirements.
You got to think about a classroom situation, right? When you want to switch from like the professor's lectern to someone that is being taught and they want to show their screen on what they believe is happening at a university, it makes it so much more flexible to be able to fast switch multicast streams on the fly. Like that is such a dynamic situation. And having a system that is like a multicast AV over IP, utilizing those standards and, great partners with Atlona. We have several deployments with them on how they allow for that type of switching using their RTSP stream. So that type of flexibility is just unparalleled.
And I would round that out with, I would look more towards the IT, AV over IP. I mean, that's where I kind of started back in this industry. Cindy was doing IGMP, raw 720p streams over Ethernet. So yeah, there are technologies that use Ethernet cable, but they may not actually be that OSI standard of TCP IP communication. And it's been around for a long time. So you look at technologies like Dante, they are extremely robust. The switches are set up. This technology has been embedded in the chipsets for decades already, over decades for sure, over a decade for sure. I'm not sure, guys, how long IGP's been around, but it's been a long time.
That's great. I think, Matt, this might go to you. Could you talk through the pros and cons of video protocols running AV over a network such as IPTV, NDI, etc.?
Yeah, various different advantages to all those protocols. We shared a white paper in the team that people can download that covers our thoughts on various advantages of different IP standards. But it depends. It really just depends on your environment, whether you try and compress video. A lot of different preferences. But the most important thing is that as you're working in your environment to find out which options are available to you in the marketplace, that you work with proper integrators that understand the protocols and can help advise you, not only provide the best audio video production quality experience inside your organization, but also give you that guidance that helps you advocate internally for the things you're going to need to achieve that as well. So I know the session is going to move on to products, topics of benefits, and pros and cons of each of those protocols and different benefits overall related to IP. But key is to make sure that you access. You understand the fundamentals of those protocols and the reasons why your organization is seeking to make those changes, how to integrate with your counterparts and other organizations with groups within the organization to work well with IT to help you deliver that audio visual experience for your constituents internal to your organization.
So we've talked in part about the benefits, but really let's kind of cover, by use case, really, the benefits, whether it's, a corporate campus or a higher education campus. It's what are the benefits? They seem clear, but they might not be, in fact. Tim, why don't you take that?
Yeah, for sure. Some of the benefits are obvious, right? We're not dealing with analog signals. So when you have long microphone runs, you don't have to worry about interference. Once you go digital, there is a lot less of that interference. The other benefits of having it on the network and leveraging these existing technologies like Dante and whatnot is ease of being able to route things around your campus. Another side benefit of where we've come to now with Dante is all of the wireless mic systems that used to be out on the market for conferencing. They're DECT. The best ones are DECT, digitally enhanced cordless telecommunication systems. Those actually used to have an analog wire run around the campus to synchronize all the rooms so they didn't interfere with each other. We're now able to leverage the Dante network clock as the 100 hertz quartz crystal clock for these DECT systems. So there are so many benefits that aren't even obvious to people right off the bat. One, there's a key example. If you are implementing wireless microphone systems in your campus, it behooves you to now have a system where you don't have to run any analog wires and synchronize with that master Dante clock as well. So that's another example of one of the advantages of IT over Ethernet, of AV over IT. Excuse me.
Yeah, just to add to what Tim's saying, it's so much about that flexibility and that scale that you get, and thinking about protecting your investment for the long term. When you're buying dedicated infrastructure, whether it's that dedicated audio cable, or it's a dedicated video switching and routing and extension platform, that may work really great at install time. But then as you think to the future, what are you going to need 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road? And then all of a sudden it becomes, what if I need to add some displays or some sources or some audio endpoints or whatever to my system? Because all of that is residing on the network. It's really just a matter of wherever I have that network connectivity, I can manage to get that signal where I need it to be. And so when you're thinking about the investment and the system design, you're really protecting yourself in a way by having all this signaling running over the network.
And I would second that too. Great point. There's no competition for Ethernet. It is the de facto LAN transmission method. Everything is going to run over it. So you need to embrace it. If I'm going to put a display on the wall, I'm going to put an Ethernet drop behind there. If I want to future-proof that zone, I'll put a second Ethernet drop behind that display. I don't know what I'll do with it in the future, but I can guarantee it's going to be over Ethernet when we get there. So yes, that scalability, flexibility, And most of my designs, Cindy, are two cable types, USB and Ethernet. We do not have this variety of cable types and analog and digital to integrate and get to work together. So again, another one of the many benefits of being over IT.
Not to mention high bandwidth fiber for those really large environments, which our team has been specialized in. I was actually watching Hard Knocks, not to go throw out HBO and say hi, but I will say that I was watching Hard Knocks and I saw the draft room at the New York Giants. It said sponsored by Crestron at the bottom. I was like, oh, look at that. And then in the background, as they panned away, they saw the American Dream, which was a network that I designed that was very, very successful. But it was a lot of bandwidth, SDVoE, 10 gigabit encoders and decoders. With different control systems all around, and it was mainly for the kiosks and the big screens on the outside. And that system was built and designed so that they could scale forward or backward depending on how they wanted to amend the systems. They also had a unique requirement to forward in-band from any decoder, so any decoder could become an encoder if they wanted. So they had to have literally bidirectional bandwidth. You're not going to get that with the static implementation of any of HDMI or any of the runs of SDI. You have a really good explanation in Ethernet to allow for that twisted pair forward. Excuse me, forward and backward. Not to mention all the fiber that they had to run for that. So you really have that kind of flexibility and scalability in those networks.
So I'm going to bring up a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just mentioned we're talking about how we install this. I think we always need to make sure that our focus is on the consumers of this, and so our internal customers are get the benefit of increased collaboration. Allows folks to collaborate in the same space, video conference better, all adopting AP over network AV allows constituents within your organization to collaborate better in a way that IT can manage better. So it's just a big win for everyone.
Absolutely, and I think that so your comment as well as a question that just came up leads perfectly into our next question, and it's really the conversation AV managers and integrators need to have with the IT department. The question here is, one of the questions I always get is with IT, why not use existing infrastructure, PoE, IT managed equipment, and specialized technology, even if it's all in a separate VLAN?
Yeah, so I can take that because we really are coming into the IT space as kind of a new. I mean, we have enterprise scalable IT products. That is not anything that anybody doesn't know. But our AV specific design is to improve the life of the installation, the ease of the installation, and of course the health of the system going forward. And we found in time and time again the installations that just added a VLAN. Universities that we've worked with, University of Nebraska is a great example. They found really quickly that was not just, you can't just add a VLAN. The bandwidth, the control, all of the different things that they need on the AV side of the house was not essentially planned for to also support the best effort IT signals that are there. Like we have to prioritize AV over those signals, and so having a separate AV network is the best solution, and it's been proven time and time again over the last 8 years that we've been involved.
So
I would quickly round that out.
Yeah,
great point. I'd quickly round that out with we approach that the same way. We try very hard to keep the Dante AV network traffic in the room on its own switch fabric, its own switch. That's why our controllers have a separate Ethernet port for out-of-band management. So you can very easily deploy these surgically throughout your facility and then have remote access to them without sharing any of the actual physical LAN at all.
And Paul, do you want to build on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so absolutely. We're kind of the same. We see probably most of our installs ending up on sort of a dedicated network infrastructure. What's great about networked AV, though, is as long as the equipment you're buying adheres to sort of network standards and standardized protocols, it provides it provides the customer an option. Again, most of the time they pick the dedicated infrastructure for all the reasons that Alex mentioned. It almost just makes the whole system design easier in light of all the other network needs they have. But if you have a customer, so we had one a few years ago, they were doing a greenfield install, brand new, building facility. IT wanted it on the converged infrastructure so they could manage it, but they were able to design the whole thing from the beginning, the AV part, telephony, other data networks, everything with the needs of the whole system in mind. So what's great is by being on the network, it's an option. It's one you need to maybe use some care about when you go that road. But yeah, the reality is most of the time it ends up on dedicated infrastructure.
So let's talk now about when the AV department is really looking to bring in a lot of the latest AV equipment. And what is that conversation? Because you still need to have a conversation with IT. It might be
Yes.
own network, right? But
Right.
You still need IT. So let's discuss
Cindy,
that.
we've been training people globally right now. Our group has trained about 1,000 people this year. And one of the big important slides I have, which actually has a cartoon character, it's the comic book guy from The Simpsons, believe it or not. Because he's like the IT guy, right? Sometimes, at least in our imagination. But essentially, you have to open that dialogue. One integrator told me that he had an installation where he was afraid to talk to the IT guy for anything, and that should never be the case. And so we've offered our team, Pro AV design team, to enter that conversation. We did a large SDVOE installation in Connecticut where we heard through the telephone effect that a separate network wasn't going to be needed or something like that. We all got in the same room. We were all solutions oriented. We came up with a solution to deploy the standalone AV network with also allowing the control that they were looking for in that network to work in a very cohesive manner. So it's about opening that dialogue. You have to have that discussion, and you need to bring forth the solutions, and we have many of them. We have many different solutions to solve any of their concerns, from security to stability to reliability to management.
Great. Question here. Do you see more and more that IT and AV is separate, either physically or logically? A lot of these solutions require facilities as well. How do you see facilities play inside this world? So that's really a few questions in there. So we've been talking for years about the convergence of AV and IT, and that really means they have to work together. They should be working together. And sometimes, especially in higher ed, I know AV departments are reporting up to IT. So talk a little bit about that dynamic. And again, let's go back to what are the things that the AV department really needs to understand for the to talk to the IT department. Let's kind of help smooth that relationship.
Yeah, so Cindy, I think we've seen across a wide variety of verticals, AV departments getting merged and integrated into IT departments. It's still an interesting phenomenon, because even as they kind of maybe fall under that IT umbrella, IT departments themselves have become so big because of how important they are. You've got the security folks, you've got network folks, you've got the PC folks. There's different departments now within IT, and AV becomes one of those departments. So there's still a conversation that needs to be had. And what we've seen is that there's a lot of really, really good IT departments in terms of their technical skill and ability, but they've never encountered multicast video traffic, for example, or the kind of bandwidths that you can achieve in some cases. And so a lot of times it's really just about almost informing and educating on, hey, here's the bandwidth consumption. Here's the things to think about on uplinks. Here's the ports we use and the protocols we use. And so what I always encourage AV departments or integrators is, most manufacturers have a whole lot of resources, training, white papers, documentation that explain, here's how our product works. Here's the impact on the network. Here's what the IT department needs to know. use that, utilize it, leverage it. And also most manufacturers will gladly come in and work side by side with you, having that conversation, because a lot of times it's not that IT is necessarily resistant, it's that they've never encountered maybe exactly what AV is doing on their network, and so they need some education and some help and some assurance that it's going to be okay, and here's how we're going to design the system.
Great.
That's an excellent answer, Paul.
Yep. Good. How about on the other side, IT working with the AV department? I mean, clearly there's a huge depth of expertise that IT does not have with AV, nor will they have. But a lot of the meeting spaces are now falling under IT, whether it's networked audio. I mean, that's certainly a big area. The in-ceiling microphones and speakers, getting the collaboration rooms up and running, that's falling under IT. But they need AV to really help bring all that together. So, help us out with understanding that relationship. Where each one comes in.
I'll jump in on this one. I think the IT departments are going to need to leverage the AV folks for the room basics. As much as we've automated setting up of our systems, a few mouse clicks to set the systems up. Literally, we auto-tune and tune we play noises and listen with the mics and analyze the acoustics of each room. Even though it is simple enough for IT folks now to set up without being an audio engineer, they still need to understand the dialogue you have at the room design level. For example, one of the biggest issues in our industry is user interface needs, and addressing and assessing those user interface needs. When somebody comes into a room, how do they want to connect? What do they want to do in that room? What do they want to bring with them in their room? Those sorts of questions. How large is the room? What are the dimensions? How many people do we need to cover? What all do you want to do? Do you want to do video conferencing, presentation, multiple cameras? That sort of education is still heavily in the AV folks arena. And I think it's going to be easier with the level of automation we now have for the IT folks to learn that rather than some of the old AV salts to try and learn the IT stuff. So I think the advantage is on the IT folks, but there's a lot of what we do on the AV side that IT folks have no idea about when it comes to designing that room. And that's where the two need to get together and have a good dialogue about those questions, and especially user interface needs. That's a big one in our industry right now.
That's an excellent point, Tim, because essentially with the amount of work that goes behind the management, and you got to understand, everyone wants that minority report experience, right? They want to be able to literally grab the image and throw it over here and have this like super AV experience. And the AV, users and the integrators out there that have been building this infrastructure for all these years, kind of on the sideline of the IT staff. The IT staff are extremely adept at the standards that they have to manage, all of the security software that they have to deal with, all of the things that they have, the managing of many platforms and software out there. From that perspective, they are just attuned. But when it comes to the AV experience, that being open to be able to move things, to have a large broadcast domain, not isolating the segments or the rooms that are involved in that space, it's a different philosophy. So if you have to, if you really need to make sure that that communication line is open between the two, so that the experience is focused on as much as the technical ports.
I want to ask the audience a question. It's kind of a multi-part question, if you would, but I'm interested in hearing some of your comments. Has your company embraced networked AV? If so, to what extent? Enough? If not, what are the barriers that you're facing? So if you wouldn't mind putting that into the questions box, and I will read off some of them, and maybe we'll get some questions that we can answer for you in that. An interesting question that's just come up. How is AI and AR going to evolve in AV in IT sector? And what are the considerations that need to be taken care of now?
Again, AI is
I
a
can
big buzzword.
go ahead.
Oh, is that you? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say what we've seen in a lot of the commercial spaces, just from my perspective, and this may be because we've started to partner with the greats like Ross and others in the broadcast space and the video switching space. We've seen commercial and some universities, the combined broadcast / AV experience. So not only is it just the AV experience in the room, but it's also the broadcast capable switching that has started to become a combined thing. That's one of the major trends that we've seen. Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No, great, absolutely great points, Alex. Again, it's not just AI, but IA. I mean, we kind of got to differentiate those. I did a presentation last year at Infocom on artificial intelligence, and I'm not concerned about Skynet taking over anytime soon. That's for sure. We've only barely gotten to the point with AI where a computer can beat a human at the game of Go. So we're really scratching the surface. Where it is powerful and it is going to expand, though, and you start looking at Chat GTP and those sorts of things, I'm leveraging that now. They make a Chat GTP version for creating PowerPoints, which is amazing. Definitely worth the $8.99 I pay a month for that thing. But intelligent automation, at Yamaha, for example, we have AI in our algorithms, in our programming, in our code. That's how our beams can track human voices. We are only looking for human voices with our microphones in our multi-dynamic beam mics. That's AI. But it's the IA that is really more appealing to me in the short term, intelligent automation. For example, our home theaters auto-tune themselves. Same thing. That's what we're bringing in and making it easier for the IT folks is they don't need to be an 8-year audio engineer to set this up. So it's a combination of artificial intelligence and a lot of the code we do, not so much in, hey, when I walk in the room, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, I have this meeting the same time for 3 weeks, that the room starts to recognize this is where we're going to go. Hey, Tim's booking this room. There's 7 people. This is the topic they're always talking about. Why don't I put the coffee pot on? Schedule this meeting for this time every week. I mean, that's where we're going to be going with AI. But for the short term, what's going to help IT folks is IA, intelligent automation. Automation touches every vertical in our lives, and it is absolutely coming to this space as well.
Yep, fully agree.
Got to bring up the topic of security. We're getting a lot of questions. I had it on my topic list. It's real. So, Paul, you're laughing. Take it away then.
Oh, okay. So that'll teach me. No, I'm just chuckling because every time you talk networked AV, security is
of course
a huge topic, right? So obviously, when you're on a network, you could be bringing in other devices that are connected to that same network, and that you have to be concerned about. Am I introducing any security vulnerabilities into the system? It's no longer a completely dedicated infrastructure structure that's standing alone. And really, there's a couple of different aspects to security to be mindful of. One is when you're distributing this audio and video content across the network itself, you want that to be secure, right? So the kinds of things you're looking for are things like, is my is my video encrypted? Is my audio encrypted? Is my content essentially protected on the network? But then the second part of it, and it's one that's really kind of throughout all AV products and has been a topic for quite some time, is as all of these devices get network connectivity, even just for control or management or configuration, you need to make sure that all of those ports are secure. Meaning, you're going to be looking for things like, do I have any open insecure ports? Am I using only things like HTTPS or SSH? All these things that are encrypted. Do I have the ability to disable unused ports or unneeded ports? Am I going through and doing, is my manufacturer doing random or occasional security scans, keeping their firmware up to date as new vulnerabilities are being found? So there's a couple of different angles here. One is every port secure in terms of the device, and then also, is my traffic secure?
So I know every manufacturer will work with our audience, with IT and AV managers. But talk a little bit more about that, Matt. What if somebody comes to you and says, we're concerned about security, how does your company work with that?
we maintain an internal staff that focuses solely on security. We also maintain documents that establish how secure and what protocols our solutions work on. And as we're working with the IT department, we have to know a little bit wider set of their requirements as well. In addition to security, accessibility, and a number of things. So it's just important that as a manufacturer, the ones you work with, including we do this. We keep documents on file like VPAD, voluntary product assessment test, that can help, help anticipate and answer questions in advance for those IT professionals. So whether the topic that AV and IT is working with is security or accessibility or the other requirements for solutions to be procured inside that environment, it's just important that a manufacturer is available to answer questions with the integrators, available to answer questions to the audio video team, that it's available to provide that rich information to the AV team to help just provide that in advanced IT so they know the questions are going to be asked, and just kind of stay ahead and understand what the IT team really needs to do. They're worrying about managing their network and security and a bunch of other things. We're worried about creating wonderful video experiences or audio experiences together for our end users. Again, it's just, as a manufacturer, making sure that we have all that documentation available inside, and that the due diligence is happening inside our organization to make sure, as mentioned in the example before, when we release a new piece of firmware, that we're testing, and that there's QA testing that involves those.
And from a network infrastructure perspective, so, being as part of, we need to be able to support a lot of the enterprise level requests that are out there. So 802.1x, relatively new in the AV space, although there are a lot of manufacturers that have adopted it now, is a well-used local IT security standard, which prevents port authentication of devices that don't authenticate to an external server. So that's one way. Having zero trust applications that are supported on the network would also be very, very helpful. I was on a security panel a long time ago, that maybe 2-3 years ago, about AV and security, with a gentleman, Bill Black, that actually utilized or explained that air gapping isn't always the best way. And it's probably true. You can air gap a system so much, but even a nuclear facility was actually air gapped, but still was actually penetrated. And so it is a very serious subject, and it should never be taken lightly. But the AV personnel out there are going to really rely on what comes from the IT side of what they need, they require. As far as the Netgear platform, we can lock down the switch to do a lot of different things. Like we can focus everything as far as management goes on the in-band communication, where all of those AV equipments are, lock them down, and only allow access from a specific IP address or MAC address on the out-of-band management port, which would not have any in-band connectivity for control over those AV items. So air gapping the in-band and the out-of-band management, and then focusing specifically on techniques and having a secure, conscious mindset going in.
And real quick, to finish that topic out, I would say on the manufacturer side, strive to not only do 802.1x radius authentication, but these standards that are in place, even traps. Help me, guys. Word just jumped out of my head. SNMP traps. Thank you. Having SNMP, just basic technologies where you can look at the health of the rooms. The devices can report their health and status back. Just using the existing standards that are out there, like 802.1x, all manufacturers should be building to these.
Great. I'm going to actually read off just a few of success stories. Absolutely, we're a networked and software company first, and developed AV capabilities after understanding the need for IT expertise in the industry. AV company increases, interesting to see new players in the market who weren't traditionally AV companies, increases competition. Everything is run off core switch, separate VLAN, and trying to get them to change is like trying to get to navigate a battleship down a water slide. So interesting. Yes, it has been embraced, and we can see this with the number of network certified engineers in the AV space, and we need more, I think. Embraced AV over IP. The only hurdle sometimes is integrating with the customer's network. So, all good. Using NDI and Dante for our broadcast AV. Also have started using some Dante microphones in classrooms. And we're seeing a couple encountering challenges with enterprise managed switches. Not mentioning any names here on purpose. We don't need to do that. So clearly, there's still some challenges there. And actually, Alex, do you want to speak a little bit about the challenges of integrating AV,
Oh yeah.
with AV and enterprise switches networks?
Absolutely. It was famous. We were at the Super Bowl and we had 4 different connections coming from 4 different manufacturers of switches that all had their own little unique requirements. And so it can be different. But again, it's about communication. What do you see on your side? What do you see on our side? And being able to produce a connectivity that works for everybody. Again, it goes back to dialogue. It goes back to communication and just being able to work with that person. And again, my team has worked almost specifically with anyone who is in that space that has the need to communicate to an IT team that doesn't know what to say. We're here to help at our Pro AV Design email box. We've helped several over the last 5 years, different companies, different manufacturers, different end users and integrators kind of come together to understand what is going to be required for that integration link and kind of come up with solutions in order to make those links possible. If I had to make any recommendations, I would leverage current existing layer 3 firewall routers in a redundant form. That way you can have your DHCP be redundant. So that way you can have leverage VRRP in order to have a distinct route. There's Zoom rooms, Teams rooms, which require internet connectivity, which is like you have to integrate with the current on-prem unless you're going to bring your own internet connection into the building. So leveraging current techniques that are out there on the layer 3 space will also help your layer 2 devices like your Dante and your video and all of the rest of the things happening in the rooms.
Great, thanks. So I want to give each of you some time to, if you had like one takeaway for our audience or advice, whatever, on networked AV, the state of, and how to, moving forward, what would that be? And, let's start with Tim.
So the takeaway I'd give them again is everything's going to be riding over Ethernet. Your AV solutions are coming on board, but embrace it. The fact that the only thing I plug in this room for the whole conference is the switch. Everything's powered by it is a huge advantage. I think also most of the connectivity technologies and everything else is running over Ethernet as well. Even the touch panels now, the control rooms, are PoE touch panels that are hanging off a switch. It's all part of the networked AV experience. So that would be my takeaway, is embrace it because it's here, it's staying, it's coming. And get with manufacturers that are IT-centric, that are making products easier for IT folks to use. We like to look at deploying audio systems as no different from an IT person deploying a new IT camera or a new router or a new other peripheral on that network. Once they get comfortable with the fact that everything is running on that network, it just becomes another node. And automating on the audio side so that they can have a lot easier time of it. They don't need to be that advanced engineer.
Thanks. I've been covering this industry for more than 15 years, and obviously there's been a lot of changes. And one of the biggest changes I've seen, certainly in the last 10 years, used to be audio manufacturers. Well, about 10 years ago, every AV manufacturer solutions company brought in IT. There are IT departments. I mean, each of you said, Matt, you said your company has an IT department. So it's not like you're all AV engineers going off doing your thing and then hoping it works on with IT. Everybody, I mean, they're IT and AV companies now. They're not, solely AV companies. So, and with that, Matt, if you had, a couple of takeaways for our audience today, what would that be?
Just that the goal is to make sure that whatever solutions you guys do, you do wind up deciding on, make sure they're leaning towards the ability to be future proof. There's some parts of our industry in the production industry that are going to be reticent to make a full leap into the IP space. So as a manufacturer on our end, we make sure that we continue to make things and give folks a choice about how far into the network IP space they leap to help produce their video, create video experiences for their customers. Just make sure that whichever environment you're working in, you're consulting with systems integrators that can help you interface with the manufacturers and can help you reach into the other constituencies inside your organization to make sure that your technology decisions are sound and hopefully future proof and in line with the mission of your organization. Help make sure that you're creating systems that are more accessible, more secure, and enable greater collaboration across your organization.
Great, thanks. Alex, you're up next. I'm going to ask you to address one of the questions in your takeaway. What are some of the talking points we can use? We've gone over some of these, but what are some of the talking points we can use with IT teams on why we should use separate networks? Alex.
Absolutely. And just to cover the takeaways, and I'll get to the question. So one thing that I've noticed, working with integrators and really getting into the weeds with them, and actually going to many of the sites that we've designed networks for and deployed, is don't forget to have fun. Yeah, it's a serious thing. You want to get everything in. I understand it, but just enjoy it, because AV is a lot of great experiences and a lot of unique pushing the boundaries, right? And let's keep doing that. Let's keep having fun and pushing the boundaries. That would be the first takeaway. And then the second takeaway is to just be honest about the level of installation that you're doing, right? Understand its limitations, understand and make sure that's communicated. A lot of the times they'll try to push the boundaries and that the customer never really asked for that to begin with. Just be honest about it. Those would be my takeaways. And to get to the question, so, being able to communicate with your IT team can be tough, especially the language they're speaking, the language of AV. There's, like I said before, there's different philosophies there. And let us help you with that. Like I said in my opening, that I came from the NAS/SAN world. I came from the IT side of things. I'm not quite going to get the Neuralink, but I'm sure fascinated by it. All right. I love it. I'm a technophile, if you will, and all of our team is that way. We have Nicole. She came from the cybersecurity world. She's a security professional for over 25 years. So we have the technical expertise to talk with the IT team with you and to help you along that conversation to make it easier to deploy the standalone system, and understanding the needs of the AV space and the needs of the IT space is going to continue to be a discussion. So let's have that discussion.
Great, thanks. And Paul.
Yeah, so really in closing, and I'll talk specifically about the video side, there's, as I mentioned, when you think about the design, the system design considerations, there's lots of different technologies available and they have different implications for the network. So, you can put in a network AV system that consumes less than 10 megabits per second, or you can do one that's 3, 4, 5, 800 megabits per second, or you can do SDVoE, for example, that's 10 gigabits per second. And all of those, and there's pros and cons to each, and different capabilities and advantages they bring, but there's also network implications depending on what you choose. And so really just, I think an important takeaway is that all the technologies are there. They all utilize the network. They mean you can really build a system that addresses your needs along with the networking infrastructure that you have. But you really have to go into the project fully understanding kind of the scope and the scale of, what am I trying to accomplish? What are the implications for the network? What audio video needs do I have? Because all of those things may drive your specific equipment selection, which technologies you use on the network, because it really is a very, very broad space. And again, your manufacturers can absolutely help you to understand the pros and cons of their solutions and what the different options are. But what's great is with those options, it means there's not really any limitation or barrier to utilizing the network for AV distribution.
Wonderful, thanks. So first, before we just disappear, a few things. So don't go away, anyone. Tim, Matt, Alex, and Paul, thanks so much for a really wonderful discussion. Everybody make sure you download the handouts and certainly reach out to each of our panelists, because this is just the tip of the iceberg for this discussion. So again, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Atlona, Netgear, Ross, and Yamaha. Our panelists, and of course, all for way too many questions that we couldn't get to, and our panelists will be able to take a look at them and get back to you individually. And with that, drum roll please. The winner of the $250 Amazon gift card is not any of us. It's Michelle Howe from California. Our team will reach out to you. Yes. So thank you all again for your great questions. Let's keep the conversation going and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.